handle the truth. Truth.
What's good, everybody? This motherfucker talking shit already. We ain't even started the show yet. What's going on? Welcome back to Truth, the New Minority, with my man Lou and your boy Don. What's good, people? Thanks for tuning back in, checking us out. Um, Little housekeeping. If you haven't done so, when you tune in, make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell. It costs you nothing, but it means a lot to us. So if you get an opportunity, please go ahead and hit that button right down there. It don't cost you a thing. So tonight we chopping it up by 80s hip hop. So
He ain't ready.
I was about to say the same thing to you.
He ain't ready.
Like wow, I was in the midst of
Because
it.
he come from NYC.
I was in the midst of it.
I'm down here in Big More than 21229, and this dude think he know everything about hip hop.
So we're gonna take y'all way back. We're gonna chop it up. Um, but we was just having a conversation. Cause I'm gonna throw some things at you too. You know what I'm saying? About your Mount Rushmore of 80s hip hop. What would be your Mount Rushmore of 80s hip hop? So I'm gonna give you some time to think about that. Um, so hip hop in the 80s took on in the 70s and 80s, but late 70s, early 80s, or late 70s and 80s, took on the weight of hip hop to come. So a lot of things solidified hip hop music back then. Because before that, in the 70s, it was just something that you did in the park, in house parties, and it really wasn't widely recognized. Late 70s, it started getting recognized. 80s is when it started blowing up, and the mainstream society started accepting hip hop. So we was talking about um, how different areas had their own hip hop sound. But the beautiful thing about 80s hip hop was no matter what the sound was for your area, everybody nationwide was listening to it. And what I mean by that is, so if a song came out and it was from New York, it wasn't like it stayed centralized to New York because that's all we had for hip hop. So if it was hot in New York, then it came down south, then it went out west, you know what I'm saying? Hit the dirty south, went out west, and everybody was rocking to the same thing. But we was talking about how Florida hip hop kind of changed things a lot. And what I mean by that is Uncle Luke came out with this right here and it changed the game.
Don't stop, pop that pussy, let me see you do do brown.
So that changed the game. That gave hip hop some dirty. It made it a little filthy. I liked it. Um, I was young back then, but I was still, you know, in the thick of it enough to get up in the club and watch the women, you know what I'm saying, do their thing. And that dirtied up. That dirtied it up right there.
So I'm gonna say this, like East Coast, we had so much invested. They had so much invested because I'm not a rapper. Invested in the game that we had a zillion. I ain't gonna say a zillion, but we had rappers that came out and just took over because it was new.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's new. And the main thing that I like about hip hop when it came out in the 80s, a lot of the artists that came out in the 60s, 50s, and 70s that didn't get their money, they got a lot of it back off the sampling
Right.
that these dudes did in the 80s. Like when they got those shitty contracts back in the day from whatever label. And no, granted, some of the rappers got some shitty contracts, but because they had to kick back
Hell yeah.
on the the sampling of the beat. Like LL Cool J do salute the sample on XM on 45. That shit I think that shit is phenomenal. See how they flip a beat or how they took a song, took this much of a song and flipped it.
And they had to do that. They didn't have beat machines back then.
Right.
They had to do that shit with a damn reel to reel, and they had to snip it and then paste it together and then play it again, then snip it and paste it together. And that's how they created their beats.
And then you had, like, if you ever watched the Beastie Boys documentary and see how they recorded Paul Revere, it's just street bananas. I mean, it was a oops song, basically, but it's phenomenal. That's why when 50 years of hip hop, we weren't supposed to last. No, it was a fad.
Mm-hmm.
All day it was a fad. You know what I'm saying? But it transcended genres. You know what I'm saying? It made a lot of people a lot of money.
It did.
It made a lot of. I mean, you know, I tell everybody the record industry. Everybody say is shady, and you know it is what it is. But we're gonna stick to the '80s for now because when we get to the '90s, we get to the 2000s. We can talk about how it transformed.
Follow up the next few weeks because we gonna take you through a journey on hip hop.
But we're gonna take you with the '80s because I know when I first heard rock box, when I first heard Rap is the Light, when I first heard The Message. You know what I'm saying? When I first heard the Funky 4 Plus one, but back then, my first tape I ever heard real hip hop on, and I thought it was gold. I ain't gonna lie, a Ron G CD.
Ron G. So
Ron G tape.
as a DJ, right, when I was coming up, that's who I mimicked my style behind.
Right.
So Ron G was always a blend master. You know what I'm saying? Like he could take a song and he could take a beat. And he'll take that beat and marry it to that song, and you'll feel like that song was supposed to be with that beat, but it was a total remix. And the youngest in charge, Ron G, when I used to hear his shit, I used to be like, okay, that's what I want to do now. Because at first, you know, I was a house party DJ, you know what I'm saying, and I was a little scratch DJ, not like a Jazzy Jeff, you know what I'm saying, even though I tried. I couldn't do it. I tried.
It ain't for everybody.
You know what I'm saying? I couldn't keep up with what Jeff was doing. As a matter of fact, Jeff used to have he sold a transformer box. So instead of you having to move the crossfader back and forth, you just press the buttons this way you could transform. Okay. And back then, so you figured back then it was like $150, which would be the equivalent of probably about $500-600 now. And I remember my brother bought it for me because I used to always try to transform. And he bought it for me.
That transformer was hard. But I remember hearing, when I heard Jeff, Grandmaster D, Terminator X. And when I tell everybody, you remember LL had 3 DJs at one point. You remember that? Cut Creator, Bobcat, and Hurricane.
Yeah.
Everybody don't just. I'm a hip hop.
This is hip hop. This is
hip hop.
This is the roots of hip hop right here.
So you had, I remember going to a show down at the Civic Center at the time. I'm talking back in the day. You were still in NY, right? Hanging in the Bronx. We going down the show. We're going to see Run DMC. So it's Run DMC. It's Eric Me and Rakim. It's Houdini. It's Salt and Pepper, and I think it's Dougie Fresh.
Oh, you had a fucking all-star fucking team.
When
right
I tell you. Jam Master J, Terminator X. To me, Grandmaster D and Jazzy Jeff are 1 and 1. You know what I'm saying? When they spun that man upside down, and he was still getting his thing off. Listen, I love Jazzy Jeff. I love him to death. But Grandmaster D, and when L was there. He said, L said, yo, what's my name, baby? He said, LL asked the DJ what his name. He said, Bobcat, baby. You know, that was just like, what the hell? You know, that's what drew me into
back then.
Know, the DJ was A.
So the DJ used to be the focal point. I think we talked about this before, but the DJ used to be the focal point of even though the rapper was who you came to see, you wanted to see what his DJ could do, and every rapper had a DJ.
Right.
When the rappers started taking the focus off of the DJ, I think that's when we started losing what the essence of hip hop was all about. Because it wasn't just about the rapper. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop is 4 elements. You know what I'm saying? It's the rapper, the DJ, graffiti art, and breakdancing. And the crazy thing is, overseas, like in China,
they love us.
They're still hardcore with the whole goddamn 4 elements. But I remember when I couldn't go to this I couldn't go to the concert. But I was able, so back in New York, you was able to listen to the concert on the radio.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So the radio station would broadcast the concert live for those who couldn't be in go to the concert. I was too young back then.
Oh, this is what it is.
So I remember I'm sitting in the damn room, came in the house early, went downstairs inside my bedroom. My brother had went to the fucking concert, and I'm sitting there and I'm listening, and Run DMC did this shit right here.
Now Peter,
Piper,
pick
peppers,
but Run Rock,
rhyme,
Humpty,
Dumpty,
fell
down,
That's his art.
time,
Jack
nimble,
what?
nimble,
And he was
quick,
but jam,
master,
mud,
faster, Jack's on Jay's dick.
Now when I tell you I'm laying there, so because remember it's broadcasting live, they can't edit out nothing. So it was played late enough at night, so they didn't have to edit it out.
After which now.
So I gotta lay on top of the thing because my mom can't hear that shit. My mom would have flipped out if she'd have heard all that cursing and shit. And that was back in the day. Like that was pretty much the first time you would really ever be able to hear a curse word on the radio because there was no way to edit it out.
So you think you had it bad? So our hip hop hour came on WEBB.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember the name of the DJ, but it was you only get an hour, 2 hours, and that was all. That was the hip hop we got. That's all the hip hop, unless you went to the store and bought it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We had to buy albums, records, whatever. They get a continuous flow of hip hop. But my father had a stereo in the basement.
Okay.
With the dumbass antenna on it. You know, we could pull Kiss.
Up in New York? Get the hell out of here. Down here.
Yo, my father had, I remember,
He had satellite radio before there was satellite radio, you know?
He'd be like this. I would go fuck with it because my father was strictly old school. You feel what I'm saying?
Okay.
He like, I knew my father had a real, that's how I got to know real. My father had a real. And we had the tower speakers, had the butt naked bitch on the wall with the oil painting. You know what I'm saying? So, my father like, and you hear the little whistle, but it was pulling out like, yo, that's crazy. But my father had an antenna that was crazy because he was a music connoisseur from his era. You know what I'm saying? Like my father had a reel to reel, yo. You know how the reel to reel look like these lights right here.
Yeah.
You put it on, you could go to work, come home 2 days later, that shit's still playing.
My mom was into music like that, which I think is what caused my brother to accept music that way. And because of my brother, I got into music like that. And my mom had a reel to reel. Now, back then, if you had a reel to reel, you could have a reel to reel all day, but you ain't always got music for the reel to reel. Like you gotta dig and find and seek and search. And I remember my mom used to go out and she'll buy like some old Patti LaBelle on reel to reel, and my brother would sit there and play with it before he got his first turntables. He would sit there and play around. You know what I'm saying? And he would play it, then he would rewind it back a little bit, then he'd play it again, then he'd rewind it back a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And he would put his box in front of the speakers. You know what I'm saying? So he could record from the reel to reel to this, because it wasn't no damn cord. It wasn't no damn RCA jacks and shit where you could just run it to your damn box and shit. But yeah, like music really took hold of a lot of people, and it was our escape.
Yeah, I said, but really, the 80s defined us, especially our generation, because when you listen to the radio, if you had a tape deck, you did more pause taping than anything.
Hell yeah,
and
try to catch it before the commercial start.
And the way the DJs stopped you from copying, it was smart. Whoever was on there, you might have a Mac James jam, we got WE in the middle of the mix.
Yeah.
WEBB, so you couldn't do nothing with it. You know what I'm saying? But and I remember we just had AM. I mean, we just had y'all had FM before we had FM.
FM.
And it was in Walbrook Junction, and you just get that whistling sound.
Oh.
You know, you record. I'm on there. I'm taking my mother good church tapes with James Cleveland on.
And putting tape over it so you can record on the motherfucker. Yo.
Oh, she would be heated. you know, I gotta get this. Like when we first got like, I tell the first field dude, and I say I'm dating myself right here. When we got 102.7, people realized that was V103. That was us. That's when Frank popped off. And you know, he came on, and we moving forward, we progress. Now we got good quality sound on the FM channel. Now you on, that's like channel 54. You know what I'm saying? You got 54, you moving up in the world. You ain't just got the regular channel. And he come on there with the V103 master mix. He's like, every 6 minutes in the V103 master mix. It's ski, baby. You know what I'm saying?
So
when Doo-Doo Brown hitting all
we had so your mainstream radio station.
But I did get a hold of a Red Alert.
Mm-hmm.
When I heard about Red Alert, I was like, yo, this shit is crazy.
So you had Red Alert on, if I'm not mistaken, 97. And then you had Mr. Magic Rap Attack.
Calling Mr. Magic.
Yeah, so that was on WBLS. And then we had this underground radio station with the Awesome 2. It was like a college radio station.
Right.
And you could only get it in certain parts of the city. But when I tell you it was so underground, like they would play the B side of the album, and you would hear shit that unless you bought the album, you wouldn't know the shit existed. So yeah, that was the Awesome 2. Like I heard so much shit for the first time on Awesome 2, but like I was saying, like whatever we was listening to in New York, y'all was listening to in Baltimore. They was listening to in Atlanta. They was listening to down in Florida. So it was really, that's when 80s was when hip hop, because we were all just getting into hip hop, it had a united front.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There wasn't no beef between one city or another city. You might have had a couple of rappers that might have had some little beefs like LL Cool J and Cool Mo D. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't no real beef. It was beef on wax. You know what I'm saying? It was straight. I'm gonna say something about you. You gonna go back and say something about me. I'm gonna go back and say something about you, and that kept hip hop going.
So while we talking about B-sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I tell everybody, I said when I bought certain albums for the A-side, because that's what was selling. But I tell people like this all the time. I said the Wrath of Cain was a B-side.
That was a B-side. Yeah, that was B-side.
Do or Die Bedside, B-side. Rebel Without a Pause,
B-side.
B-side.
Definitely B-side.
Ultramagnetic Letter C's, B-side. The chorus line. And the crazy thing, yo, Top Billin' and Jack the Ripper were B-side songs.
Yeah, so Top Billin', even though Top Billin' was a B-side, that's what made them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's what brought them to the forefront, and everybody started paying attention. That was a B-side track.
MCMI, people call me Milk.
That's what brought them, and that beat has been reused so many times throughout hip hop. It's crazy.
Yeah, listen, I enjoy everything that hip hop gave to me as a young man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everything about it. We lived it. We soaked it up. We enjoyed everything about hip hop. Along with the R&B, that we ain't taking away from the R&B, but this is hip hop. I enjoyed everything about 80s hip hop that they had to offer. I mean,
you know, crazy thing, 80s, 90s, probably 80s and 90s. I ain't listening to no R&B at all.
I did because 80s was, I'm gonna say, let's make sure before I put my foot in my mouth. I like the fact check, unlike some people.
I didn't listen to any R&B.
There's some you probably did. You ain't no ways.
Maybe.
You did, yeah.
Maybe late.
I mean,
No, you
remember,
didn't.
Mike was
Mid
in the 80s.
late 90s.
Mike was in the 80s.
I might have started listening to.
God was in the 80s. You don't realize the
God was not the 80s. God was 90s.
God, 1984. Somebody else's God. They wrote that. I mean, Jocelyn Brown.
That's Jocelyn Brown.
No, I'm talking
yeah,
about.
I'm sorry. Wait,
I'm sorry.
I was about to say, wait, that's not. God is 90s.
The Gap Band.
Yeah, Gap Band, all of that, yeah.
And you know, initially, Candy Girl came out in the 80s. Candy Girl's an early album. People don't realize how early.
Now, I didn't listen to New Edition back then. I didn't do it. I didn't. Couldn't do
What?
it.
You had Atlantic Star. You had
I
Ozzy.
was
Fat Luther.
I was a hardcore thug.
And you listen to Renee and Angela?
Nah.
Come on,
none
bro.
of that, yo.
The
My mom used to play it. You know what I'm saying? But other
Janet
than that,
Jackson,
nah, man.
Prince. I'm gonna tell you. So this is how
My sister used to play Prince.
this is how I got transformed.
My older sister.
And you
Shout
probably,
out, Bridge.
This is how I got transformed, my day. So I used to spend a lot of time at my aunt's house. So my aunt's only a few years, like maybe 10 years older than me. So, but they are in a different era of the music genre. That's when I got introduced to the Gap Band, the dance band, the Wild Cherry, Strawberry Letter 23. You know that, right? You know,
I know the song.
That's when I got introduced to, and that's when I got introduced to BET.
Yeah.
So you know,
Yeah.
I'm not watching BET. You know, and it broadened my musical selection. And then when you realize, what made it really smart was, you would hear R&B song and realize that the hip hop lifted it.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? You be like, oh, wait a minute.
But
That's this song. But
back
that's
then,
how deep
yeah,
I went into it, and that's why my uncle blessed me with the fact that, oh, this is it. He's like, my uncle loved hip hop. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, I couldn't get into like I used to listen to R&B around the house with my mom. You know what I'm saying? And you know,
Saturday morning
you had
you
to
were
clean
cleaning
up.
up.
You know what I'm saying? You had to clean up music. It wasn't no hip hop being clean up music or whatever, but.
First of all, most of our music wasn't able to be played. Cause I remember
Hell
I had Too Short playing. That wasn't gonna fly.
Ooh.
I had the We Rock crew, and I don't even know if they made it up there.
Ice-T.
You wasn't playing on Ice-T.
You know what I'm saying?
You wasn't playing early.
You had to play that shit in your headphones.
You remember? I told them I said anything NWA's first album was that's Straight Outta Compton.
That was their first album, Straight Outta Compton.
It wasn't. Dope Man was their first album. They just had to rename themselves. They were called Boys in the Hood.
Oh. Well, you got me on that one.
So it's like, yo, what the fuck? So, you know, that wasn't their first album. It's like, Dope Man was redone for NWA. For
the Straight Outta Compton.
Well,
Okay.
so
I'm learning.
when you listen to hip hop, like I think we're the most blessed. Anybody over 50 that grew up on hip hop and R&B, we are the blessed ones because we've seen the peak of it.
Right. So remember when So at one point in hip hop, a lot of rappers from like the 70s and 80s used to call themselves the old school artists. You know what I'm saying? The old school hip hop. And KRS-One was like, nobody's an old school artist like right now. He said 50 years down the line, the crazy thing is, when 50 years of hip hop hit last year, because 50 years of hip hop, I turned 50 years old. So
I fair 54.
You know what I'm saying? So 50 years down the line, and they had to go back and give love to all those artists that didn't get the love and respect that they should have gotten back in the day. Like those are the godfathers of hip hop.
So you know what they call that? The golden age.
Yeah.
And that's
80s to me is golden age.
The golden age.
80s to me is golden age.
Listen, when rap was simple, it wasn't as complex as unless you made it a complex thing. Like when we gotta say some name, like when you move forward and you got to a Gangsta or Nas or KRS-One, as he got more intertwined in the logistics of it. Now we got up. I say I'm even move forward just a little bit to your J. Cole's, to your Kendricks. It's a lot of other people.
That's not a little bit. That's way moving forward.
I mean, but I said when it got but at the end of the day, he had to go and get him another drink. He'll be back in a minute.
Yep, I'm going to get another drink, Danny.
Well, at the end of the day, you know, we've seen the transition, and most of us that have come through the whole hip hop, we only follow certain people, and if somebody catches our ear forward, we good with it. We like to hear what lyrical content you got going on with there, because most of the time it's the beat that gets the record sold and not the content.
So the crazy thing is, in New York, right, back in the days, probably up until, it might still be going on. I moved out of New York some time ago. But in order for you to go to a club, you followed a DJ. So whoever was DJing at the club, when somebody was promoting a club, you'd be like, yo, who's DJing tonight? If it wasn't a DJ that you followed or that wasn't well known, you wasn't going.
So here it was a little different because we had back then, you know, we were all young. So you know, when you heard a DJ on the radio, you know, we Frank is older than me. So you had you might have, I mean, you know, you had they were coming, DJs were coming up. Like we had Mike Crosby, we had Sean Marshall, we had Kenny K, we had DJ Booby, we had DJ Rome. I mean, we had DJs. But the thing about it, when we went to the club like the Palladium, when we were old enough, let me say we were old enough to go to the club, and they were DJs. That was it. Like Mike. Mike was a DJ at the 20 grand.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But Mike is what, 65?
Yeah.
66? So we weren't there. But we followed the music. Like we had a club called Fantasies, where it was straight club. Like house. I ain't even want to say club, it was house. And we had a different version of club and house down there. Even then, I didn't kick in the house.
Now, did y'all ever call it Baltimore House, or was it always called Baltimore Club down here?
It depends on who you talk to. It's Baltimore Club, Baltimore House, you said. But we have our own version, just like Chicago, just like New York. We have our own version. Everything, but the music.
Yeah, I will say Baltimore does have an exclusive version of club music.
Right.
And to DJ down here, you have to have those tracks in your arsenal. Like I found that shit out the hard way because I DJ'd for somebody, and they come to me asking me about club music. But to me, club music is like follow me, and you know what I'm saying, club music, club. But Baltimore has their own club, and if you don't have those in your arsenal, you cannot DJ in Baltimore.
So let me tell you, did you ever think you would walk into a Baltimore club and hear the Supremes? Wait a minute, Mr. Postman.
Oh my God.
Rock. Or
First of all, when I first got my hands on that track.
let me finish. The cadence for the military.
Yeah.
Did you ever think you would hear?
Y'all have y'all own.
It's like the go-go over in DC. You know what I'm saying? They would take it and flip it. But
Now here's the difference between, and I know we jumping around a little bit on this one, but so Baltimore club music, you can actually get your hands on.
right.
DC go-go, it's so hard that unless you are in with that market and you know those DJs, it is so hard to get your hands on DC go-go.
Exclusive.
It's but Baltimore club music, like you can get your hands on it. And it's not even about knowing the right people, it's just knowing the right places to get it from. It's readily available.
Or you hit you with this. That's the sound of the men working on the ticket back. And then the beat start rocking. I told them, I said, yo, this is us. You ain't going up to Chicago and getting that.
No.
You ain't going to NY.
That's strictly
it.
strictly Baltimore club, and there is nothing like Baltimore. That's Baltimore's exclusive. Excuse me, y'all. That's Baltimore's exclusive music. So, but I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna hit you with another track. I know you know what the hell you was doing when you heard this right here.
Yeah, I was catching the bus to school. when that came out, I was at City.
My radio, believe me, I like it loud. I'm the man with the box that can rock.
It was Raising Hell. What was the other tape I had? Because I had a tape deck. You know what I'm saying? It was that. It was Raising Hell. Because you know how we had him in our pocket. I'm trying to remember what the other was like. I can't remember. That was Radio. That was his first joint.
Yeah.
The second one, I know I had Run DMC, and I know I had, who was the third? It was another one. I want to say it was Slick Rick. I want to say it was Rick at that time.
No. Back then, Rick was with Dougie Fresh. Rick was a part of the Get Fresh crew.
I'm gonna tell you in a minute. No, R&B and Rakim. It was Paid in Full.
Okay.
It was Paid in Full. The first album, and I had the Beastie Boys. You know what I'm saying? All that.
So back then, right? So because you know at the time we were all kids.
Right.
So not all of us, not all of our parents was was well up to the fact where they could just go and buy you a cassette tape. And I know that shit sounds crazy, like, yo, your parents couldn't spring fucking $5, $10 to go get you a cassette tape. Nah, my parents had to fucking feed the family. But once one person got it, we would literally sit. So there was a space in our apartment building up by the roof. We would sit up there with a double cassette radio, and everybody would duplicate.
What was the tape of choice? Maxell or
TDK?
TDK.
Maxell, TDK.
The multicolored one.
Mm-hmm.
The multicolored TDK. Or you had a Maxell. And you know, we sat there, yo, I remember I had my little box, I'm sitting on the porch, my little double joint, yo, I'm rocking. Like, and we listened to over again. You know what I'm saying?
And so even the blank cassette tapes was sold 3 to a pack. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was $15 for 3 to a pack. So so you get 3 dudes, and everybody would scrape up their little $5. They basically scrape change around the house, so they get their $5, and then 3 of y'all would get together and go buy a 3-pack of cassette tapes.
So my mom would go out to Ricestown Plaza and get her hair done on Friday. So she would drop me a 20, but you know, that was great money.
Mm-hmm.
I go in, I forget what the Record Masters up at Ricestown Plaza. I grabbed me a couple records, and I grabbed me a 12-pack. Because back then, the 12-pack of tapes wasn't shit. You know, I get them, I'm out there, I'm put the songs on it, you know what I'm saying? Because at the time, you know, your record player recorded down to your tape.
Right, if you had the right system.
If you had the right system.
I
was blessed a little bit to have, I got it for like my birthday. And it was like,
you had the right system, so, because there was different pieces.
Right.
So that was your record player, and then it played into the amp, and then it sent from the amp to the tape deck. As a matter of fact, it's sent and received from the tape deck, so you can play or record from it.
Yeah, so you know, we sat out there, but everybody, yo, I need that, blah, blah, blah. I said, yo, I'm gonna drop this song on there. And then you remember they used to come out with the little 2-song tapes. Like
what's the name?
They like the little, it was like what an album, what can I say, like what we get right now.
Like an EP.
Like an EP, but it was tapes.
No. Not an EP.
It'd be 2 songs on it.
SP.
Whatever. It'd be 2 songs on each side. So, you know, your man might want to, like, Criminal Minded or whatever, you might drop it down to him, be like, yo, get that, yo, listen to that. But the fact that, you know, the days of spooning that bitch back.
Spin it back. Because every time you spent it back in your tape deck, you wore the tape down.
Yeah.
Just like the same way every time you kept playing it, you would wear the tape down. So eventually the quality would start to degrade. The quality would start to decrease. So you would really start to degrade the tape to the point where you would eventually have to go and buy another tape. So you figure, let's say somebody buys it, and 15 of your best friends get the double for your tape. So they have a semi-clear copy, but yours is being degraded every time you're playing it, so they get double for your joint. Yo, it was crazy.
It's trash.
And then you had actual party rap music, party hip hop.
We had fun music, man.
You know what I'm saying? You had shit like this.
It takes two to make a thing go right. It takes two to make it out of sight.
Still knock today.
Still today, I could still play that. But you know who? You know what? The only people that's gonna appreciate it is people from back in our day who was like, "Yo, I remember when I used to do," and they would do certain dances like I ain't done that dance in years.
Kids that grew up on it with their parents.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But and that's called transcending hip hop. You've taken a song from the 80s and it's still relevant in 2025.
But it's so many songs from back then. Like you can't do that nowadays. You got very few songs nowadays that's gonna transcend the next 10, 20 years.
You're right.
It takes two. You gotta figure that is from the 80s.
Yes.
That is 40 plus years ago. Mm-hmm. And you can still play that in a party. And even though the young people might be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah,
everybody in there over fucking 35, 37, they gonna be like, oh shit, I remember when my sister used to play that. Or I remember when my brother used to play that. Like, it transcended what music is today.
How about Peter Piper?
Yeah.
Crazy. How about NWA Fuck the Police?
Let me tell you, NWA fuck the police. Ice-T cop killer. Know what I'm saying?
Let's say R&B and Rakim paid. I know you got soul paid in full.
Yeah.
Or better yet, Mahogany.
Yes. My all-time favorite Rakim track.
Salt and Pepper, Push It or Shoot.
Yeah.
Beastie Boys, Paul Revere.
Mm-hmm.
They got a couple bang. Paul Revere, Brass Monkey. I'm missing one.
That whole album was a banger.
That shit was a banger.
That whole album.
De
was
La Soul, Me, Myself, and I.
Hey, you
How
know
old's in my
what?
life?
How about that? We just got that pulled up right here.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Tell me, mirror, what is wrong? Can it be my De La clothes or is it just my De La song? What I do ain't make believe. People say I sit and try, but when it comes to being De La, it's just me, myself, and I.
And then you go, hold up, EPMD. You got to chill.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Then let's drop down Kumo D. Wild Wild West.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
So, the thing about De La Soul, that album, right?
It just got released last year. You realize that?
What?
They couldn't do nothing with that album until last year.
Oh, they couldn't.
They
The
couldn't
Masters
do-
just got released?
They couldn't do nothing to that album until last year.
So that was your very first, what would be considered an extended play album today. That was the first album that had 23 tracks on the album. And when I tell you, you can listen to all 23 tracks of that record over and over and over again. And shout out to De La Soul. It was just,
Us. It was what it was.
man,
It was fire.
potholes in my lungs.
Saturday.
It's a Saturday.
Happy, feel good music.
Mm-hmm.
But let's move forward. Boogie Down Productions, we'll always get paid. Make the racket strong and make it better.
And remember to let us into your skin. And you can begin to master.
Rhyming.
Rhyming. Criminal minded, you've been blinded. Looking for a style like mine, you can't find it. They are the audience, I am the lyricist. Sometimes the suckers on the side gotta hear this. Hey.
So, another interesting thing about the 80s. Of course, at 80s going forward, there was only one rapper who was murdered in the 80s. And that's the only decade that only had one rapper's life lost from the 80s going forward.
Do we call him a rap or the DJ?
Well, he was a
Scholar
DJ,
Rock.
Scholar Rock. He was a DJ, but in rap music, we only lost one artist in the whole decade of the 80s. Scholar Rock. And he died about something he was trying to break up a fight and got killed.
We're not even gonna speak on that because whatever went on with that, it went on. We weren't there, and we ain't gonna talk about it. But we know it's an unfortunate incident that he lost his life, and we don't know what it translates.
When I tell you we lost a major part of rap music back then, but since then, like we've never had a less bloody decade than the 80s.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. We got Ultimate in the Seas, which I was on it, but I wasn't on it.
Ultramagnetic, MC, Ultra Magnetic.
Yeah, I was on
Magnetic.
that shit.
Oh, I was on them.
We got Houdini.
Yeah. Well, Houdini was, so that would have been considered the first crossover type of song because it was a feel-good song.
Which one? The Freaks Come Out at Night or
Friends.
Nah, it really wasn't.
How many of us have?
That wasn't it.
It was
Run DMC and Aerosmith.
Mmm.
That's the one
You're
that
right.
was. And then you remember you got
You're right.
Rakim that did the joint with Jody Watley, which was really considered the first R&B crossover.
Yeah, so that was the R&B. So that was the first R&B crossover where R&B and hip hop really
Merged.
started meeting. Just like Aerosmith and Run DMC was the first time rock and hip hop.
Right.
But when I tell you that, when that shit fucking dropped, oh my goodness, I wish I'd have loaded that one today.
But let's talk about. Hold on, wait a minute. But so you go down. Now we get to the Sugar Hill Gang.
Sugar Hill Gang was before all that.
Yeah, so you talking about, but this is 80s.
Yeah, but
Sugar Hill
Gang was
Gang.
part of those first rollouts.
But
of
if
the
you look
first-
at the history of hip hop, a lot of them, what's the name? What's the DJ's name? They say, yo, they want to say a lot of them was like they cheated. You feel what I'm saying? If you look, you saw the history of hip hop. Like a couple DJs be like, we want to say they did, but something in the milk ain't white.
as far as Sugar Hill Gang,
Yeah, but you gotta go watch. You gotta watch.
I gotta check that out because Sugar Hill Gang was.
It was under a label.
They were under Sugar Hill. The label was named Sugar Hill.
It was a rapper. It was a rap. I'm watching the joint on. It's on Netflix, and he's like, "Yo, this is what happened. We don't know how this got here. It was some shadiness in there about how the lyrics got written.
Ah, okay.
And who actually wrote the lyrics. But just like in R&B and everything else, it's always some background shit to it. So now we get to the Fat Boys. And we love the Fat. Disorderlies was my movie.
Yeah.
So I loved everything about the Fat Boys. Then we get to He the DJ, I'm the rapper.
Yeah, I was actually gonna load that up today. But I thought that was a little too abstract for most. But yeah, I was gonna load that up. Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, but once again, the focal point was on his DJ.
Yeah.
Like the rapper would literally step aside and just big up his DJ and let his DJ go off.
Right. Then you had the JBs.
Oh, the Jungle Brothers, yes. What? Jungle Brothers was one of those who they crossed from hip hop to club music, cause house.
I call them like the De La Soul.
So it was Native Tongue. So they were
I call
all
them
they all fell under Native Tongue.
Yeah.
Native Tongue was the group.
And no Busta Rhymes was not Native Tongue. He wanted to be, but
He was never Native Tongue, and he'll say that today. He was
with him. They his family.
But yeah, so Native Tongue was Jungle Brothers, Tribe Called Quest. Now we're getting into the 90s though.
Right there, but no. We right there. So now we're on Tone Low, West Coast.
Yeah.
When he came out with that
Wild Thing?
Yeah, he came out. Grandmaster Fresh for the Legends, Pioneers, the game.
Yeah. So I had the pleasure many years after they did their thing. I met Grandmaster Caz and who the hell else came down? Not Flash, Grandmaster Caz. Caz came out before Flash.
Yeah, we know. Well, if you studied your hip hop,
Yeah.
you knew Caz before him.
So I was managing a rap group out of Kentucky. Shout out to Code Red. I was managing them, and my man Wise, who was a part of the rap group, he got Kaz to come down and do a track with them. So I'm literally sitting there, and we are drinking drinks, and we are taking a fucking trip through hip hop, and I found out shit firsthand that I never fucking knew. And I'm saying, but I'm sitting there like in awe. Like you figure when Kaz was out, I was like 5 years old, like 5, 6 years old. Like I was young as fuck.
The game.
Yeah. So hip hop, East Coast. Then we take a huge jump, and we go from East to the West.
Right.
And when I tell you, NWA changed the fucking game.
Yeah, when they bust, they bust.
They changed the game. When I heard this shit right here, I was like, oh shit.
What is it, Dope Man?
Hip hop is
Straight out of
Straight out of Compton, crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube.
When I heard Dope Man, hey Mr. Dope Man,
you think you're slick. You sold
Yeah,
crack to
Dope
my
Man.
sister, and now she's sick. Yeah.
When I heard Dope Man, I was like, yeah, I fucks with them.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying?
When I heard Straight Outta Compton, I said, yo, these dudes are on some fuck everybody shit.
But
But there was still no beef at that time.
But here's the thing. In my mind, NWA was on the West Coast, the equivalent of Public Enemy on the East Coast. Because they were talking about the same shit in different ways. If you listen to their songs,
Who?
Public Enemy.
So no, Public Enemy was more conscious.
But they were talking about the same shit. Like I said, they were just talking about it. They were telling the raw.
Yeah.
Public Enemy was.
Yeah. So
kinda
Public
smooth
Enemy was.
But if you
was,
listen to the things they talk about,
they was so. NWA talked about it from a street level.
yeah.
Public Enemy talked about it from a political level. You know what I'm
So
saying?
you get spoon fed by one and stabbed with another.
There you go.
You feel
There
what I'm
you go.
saying? So
Um,
and it's gotta be. It's like shock. Like yo, fuck the police. He said left and a right hook. Like he tells you about
Yeah.
what they be like. Yo, they talking about how to the mentals, how what's going on. That's why I say they the same group, just their perspective from the West Coast and our perspective from the East Coast.
Right. So on the East Coast, you know what I'm saying, we was all our party, hanging out. You had your drugs, your guns, and all that shit. You know what I'm saying, but that wasn't our focus.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? On the West Coast, they lived that every single day. They had to live with drive-by shootings and shit.
Gang.
You know
They
what
was
I'm saying?
ganged down.
They was ganged out. Our gangs on the East Coast was more
Neighborhoods.
neighborhood,
Until-
get money gangs, you know what I'm saying? Now it's a little bit different. We'll talk about that as we get into, you know what I'm saying, the 90s and 2000s hip hop. But right now, we still gonna keep it 80s for y'all. We still going, I got one that I skipped over on purpose. So we're gonna talk about
Oh my God.
how women
Legend.
in hip hop was totally different
Them-
at the time. So you had
They were spitters.
you had MC Light, you had Queen Latifah. Before that, you had Roxanne Shante. Then they had the whole
Real Roxanne.
all
You
the
had Shy
Roxannes,
Rock. You had a lot of female rappers.
off
Sweet
of that
Tea.
one Roxanne song. You had 5 or 6 different damn Roxannes that made a damn song to come back against the fuck was they not
The
Stevie
real
Wonder.
Roxanne.
No, UTFO.
Yeah,
To
UTF.
come back at UTFO. And crazy thing is, UTFO didn't know none of them.
No,
That was just them coming back saying, okay, well, y'all talking shit about women, we gonna come back. But one of my favorite female MCs back then, and as we go through the decades, I have some couple of females that really, you know what I'm saying, threw me into, oh shit, your women are spitting. But this one right here, one of my girls right here, yo.
Oh, that's MC to the light.
I am the light. L-Y-T-E. I am the light. L-Y-T-E. I am the light. L-Y-T-E.
That right there. So she had another one that came out before that.
Was it Stop, Look, Listen?
Nah, it was.
Or was it
it
Light as a
wasn't-
Rock?
It wasn't Light as a Rock. Or was that the first one she dropped?
Boom, boom, boom.
I want to say that was the first track that she dropped. And
But hold up, let's talk about that. When she came out, remember, Latifah was there too.
yeah, Latifah was out.
Latifah was there, Salt and Pepper were out, JJ Fad was out, Sweet Tea.
No, JJ Fad.
No, they the 80s.
Was JJ Fad
was there,
80s?
but they were on the West Coast. Latifah, what's the girl name? Sweet Tea was out. Shy Rock.
Sweet Tea on the smooth tip.
The two chicks. There was two chicks together. I can't think of the name of the rap group, but they had one like they were out. We had the female artists have always been relevant to the rap game, but they had to be 10 times as better as the dudes.
And not only
make
that, they had to be more hardcore. Like back then, before Salt and Pepper, women MCs wasn't able to be sexy.
Who are we missing?
You know what I'm saying? They had to be a hardcore woman MC. You know what I'm
You had to be
saying?
on your grizzly.
They had to really compete with the guys. Whereas now, you know what I'm saying, 90s on up, you know what I'm saying, they was able to explore they sexy, and then sex was selling, you know what I'm saying, for them in hip hop. But back then, like MC Light, Queen Latifah, like you wouldn't approach them because you didn't know whether they was gonna come at you on some lady shit or punch you in your mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a different Roxanne Shante, like she had to take so much fucking abuse. Like when she first got into the game, and it was only when she really solidified herself, and everybody was like, "Yo, she's not just a female rapper; she's a rapper." Period.
You had to.
You know what I'm saying? But they didn't have that luxury of being a female rapper back then. Yo, but I'm gonna say Yo Yo was 90s.
I want to say
I wanna
Yo-Yo
say
cracked
Yo-Yo
it.
hit 90s.
If she in the 80s, it was the 88, 89. And I'm thinking that's when she hit.
I want to say it was 90s.
That's fine. I got it right here. Let's do it.
Because that was after Cube left NWA that she came out. Sorry, y'all. So the channel itself is called Truth. So we don't want to give y'all no bullshit. Like, we got to research if we don't know.
See when she debuted. She actually debuted as discography, 1991.
Yeah. So she was 90.
She was 91. All right.
We'll talk about her next week, y'all.
So
Can't
she
talk
could
about
debut in 91.
But because there was a whole beef that started with all of them, but we'll talk about
I'm
that.
gonna take it back.
That's 90s beef. When the women was really beefing with each other, because somebody said, and ooh, I can't wait to.
And Queen Latifah was the 80s.
Yeah. Latifah was 80s. Latifah was 80s. Moni Love was 80s. Roxanne Shante was 80s.
Let me see. And I want to say Moni Love was 80s because she was on Queen Latifah's Lady First album. Roxanne Shante. I know I was raised.
Moni Love might not have been 80s though.
But I think
Ladies First, I think, was 90s.
Well, let's find out. Let's find out. You know.
Shout out to Moni Love too. Like, you still doing your thing. You know what I'm saying? Like you have not been forgotten, Shorty. You still doing your thing for real.
I know Sweet Tea was trending around in the 80s because we wasn't listening. We wasn't checking for it though. But we weren't check. The problem is, we can't say no because we weren't checking.
Nah,
for
she was too young back then. She was too young with 80s. Nah.
Well, let's see. Let's find out what Moni Love was. So. Moni Love, Wikipedia, discography. When did she smash? Okay, she had her first album in '90, but I want to know who was she on Queen Latifah's album in the '80s?
Who? Moni Love?
Love.
No, she was on. She came out with Moni in the Middle.
There you go. Moni Love is an 80s rapper, national radio president known for her singles from the late '80s and the '90s.
So Moni in the Middle, I guess, would have been late 80s.
This is a bit late '80s. So that's when I say, yo, because we look up the truth. You never want to discount it because their career may have started before they hit us. That's what I try to tell people.
So I remember Moni in the Middle.
Because because dudes had demos out and they was on a label, but like, you know, when you get on a label, your first hit might not hit to 92, but you've been putting out singles since '86.
Yeah, so it was a little different.
Right.
It wasn't like today where you can go in the studio, drop a track, and then put it out on Spotify. You know what I'm saying? And just to give a tester on Spotify. No, you actually had to make a song.
Yeah, wait your turn.
Put it on wax, which means you had to have it printed on a record in order to give it to DJs to even get any kind of notice. So it's not like today. Like, the digital age has changed what a rapper can do wholeheartedly.
Like JJ Fad, 88.
See, I didn't realize JJ Fad was 88.
They in '88, Supersonic came out.
Wow.
So,
I didn't even realize that was the 80s.
and we don't.
Wow.
And here goes Shy Rock too. Remember I brought up Shy Rock.
Mm-hmm.
Shy Rock.
And I knew Shy Rock was 80s.
Shy Rock. She's the mother of the mic as a member of the Funky 4 Plus one. Well, we already know that was 80s.
Yeah, I knew that was 80s. I knew Shy Rock was 80s.
You know what I'm saying? So you had, and I'm like you got to go back and look. You really have to look up your stuff. That's why I tell people, if you don't know,
Do the research. There's nothing wrong.
I'm a big fan of do the research.
There's nothing wrong with pulling something up and realizing, because you figure, yo, that's 40 years ago. That is almost 40 years ago.
And Lady of Rage was started rapping in '88.
Really?
Yo, remember when we see him, especially back then.
Oh, and you know what? I was thinking of Yo-Yo, but yeah, Lady of Rage did come out before.
Yeah, she like when we sit here and think about, we look at stuff and we sitting there looking like, whoa, well, when did they actually hit? Like Trina's actually a product of the '90s.
Yeah.
Trina's the '90s.
Trina's definitely 90s.
But when we sit here and you do your research, that's why I'm so big. And I tell my kids this: when they ask me something, I tell them go look it up, because once you look it up, you'll never forget.
Yeah. It's better to have that knowledge in your head than to listen to what somebody else tells you and take it for gospel. So I remember when Kane and Rakim was going back and forth. When Kane and Rakim kind of had so-called beef, and it wasn't really beef. It was a beef that was fabricated by everybody else, because everybody wanted to see them go back and forth against each other. So then Rakim started, basically what would happen is Kane would be on stage and he'd be rapping. Rakim would walk on stage, you know what I'm saying, thinking I'm going to go ahead and challenge you, and Kane would walk off the stage.
So this is what I got out the deal. So watch it. What's the show? It's a good show. I always watch it with Nori and DJ F.
Oh, Drink Champs. Drink Champs, yeah.
So
shout out to Drink Champs.
So not Rakim, even Kane, he said there was never a beef. He's like, somebody took a verse out of one of the songs and spun it. And it was like, yo, you heard what such.
Right.
And that's how shit gets started.
Right. And it was never really pointed to the other person, but once one person says it, so you figure, okay, so let's say Kane goes to do an interview on Mr. Magic Rap Attack, and he says something, and Mr. Magic will take it, and when Rakim comes to do an interview, he'll say, so what's up with you and Kane? You know what I'm saying?
Like, what? What are you
Seem
talking
like they got problems, and neither one of them was thinking that. Now, they both came from the same project. They both came from Fort Greene.
Right.
But it was more so like, okay, so y'all got a problem, and neither one of them was even thinking about a problem with each other. But once you put it out in the air, now I got to respond to it.
But here's my thing: is you're talking about two of the most prolific rappers of all time.
Yeah, we talking about like this right here.
Rappers stepping to me, they wanna get some, but I'm the Kane, so yo, you know the outcome. Another victory, they can't get with me, so pick a BC day, cause you're history.
I hope you got it, Rakim. 7 SC, put him in the line, and 7 more brothers who think they can rhyme. Cause that was.
You mean like this?
I was a fiend before I became a teen. I melted microphones instead of cones of ice cream, music orientated. So when hip hop was originated, fitted like pieces of puzzles.
I'll ask you a question, B, since we talking about it. What rapper hit in the 80s and made motherfucking rappers rethink their style?
Rakim. All day Rakim. All day. So, and also, if you realize, back in Rakim's when he first came out, all his older tracks, he never cursed.
Right.
Never said a curse word.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when you talk about a rapper who was able to hit the pinnacle of what rap is and to not say a curse word the whole time.
Right.
And back then, that was basically when curse words first started hitting rap music, 80's, and then they had the parental advisory on the damn tapes or whatever.
So let me ask you a question.
I'm going to make another drink, but I'm listening.
If you had, and I'm just saying right here in the 80s,
Right.
if you had to pick 5 rappers,
Okay.
who would be your 5?
5 from back in the 80s?
In the 80s.
All right, so, of course, hold on, I'm coming back, because this this right here is important.
I'm gonna make him sweat. Gonna make him sweat on this one. This one gonna make him sweat.
Yeah, I gotta be in front of the camera on this one. Cause this is important.
Hey, Money Making Mitch, if you watching, man, we want your input too.
Yeah, we gotta get Mitch in on one of these, cause you know what I'm saying. Mitch, we was talking hip hop when he was cutting my hair. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Mitch. He was cutting my hair, and we was chopping it up about hip hop, whatever. All right, so even though the Bronx set it off when it comes to hip hop, and nobody can ever take that from the Bronx. It all started there, from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I'm from Brooklyn,
Yeah.
so
Give me a headache just thinking.
my five, I'm gonna start from Brooklyn and then I'll go elsewhere. My five would be Kane,
No groups, just individual artists.
just individual artists. Kane, Rakim. Then I'm gonna jump out to Karis One. At the time, I don't know if Harlem was really popping like that.
It wasn't.
But then I'm gonna jump to Queens, and I'm gonna go with my God, why is it escaping me? The one that Karis one had MC Shan. MC Shan. He said no groups. Yeah, that's gonna be it. That's gonna be my grabbers right there. No groups. Just and of course LL. You know what I'm saying? Like in no particular order, except gotta start with Brooklyn and then I'll give everybody else their shout out. But
Yeah, so if you're gonna give it to me, I'm gonna do my top five from the 80s. Rakim, because he made everybody change their flow.
okay.
Kane, Lethal.
Mm-hmm.
KRS One, fire. On the battle rap, on the think rap, on everything.
Yeah.
Cool J, legendary.
Yeah.
That's four, right? My fifth one from the 80s. Shit. From the 80s.
Now you don't have to stay, even though.
No.
I'm
I'm really getting ready to drop somebody in there that you fuck with.
Yeah, you would have
And
to.
I'm gonna have to go with Scarface. No.
Nah,
Scar wasn't yet.
Scarface
He
was
was still
90s.
Ghetto
Yeah,
Boys then.
Nah,
He
Ghetto
was-
Boys was 90s.
Let me sure.
Ghetto Boys was early 90s. Which is a crazy group in itself, but we'll talk about that next week when we talk about the 90s.
Because I'm missing one, and I know it's one. Let me look. Okay, let's look.
I want to say Diamond D was 90s. That whole digging in the crate, the whole digging in the crate movement was all 90s.
Shit, I can't because he was a group at that point. He wasn't him.
Because you figure back in the 80s in New York, Staten Island wasn't represented. And I don't really think Manhattan was really represented, even though Manhattan and the Bronx kind of rock together. Because we all, in Brooklyn, you consider that uptown. But the Bronx had their own thing. And I don't really think that Harlem was really.
All right, my last one is going to be Mo D.
Cool Mo D, yeah. Absolutely.
Mo D.
Sorry, I skipped over him. Cool Mo D.
Mo D.
Absolutely.
Better get Mo D. Mo D,
Absolutely.
if you ever heard LL and them going to on Jack the Ripper and Rock, that shit was crazy.
Yeah.
That shit was crazy. But that motherfucker Mo D was a mean motherfucker. Motherfuckers don't give him his props, but that Mo D was giving it to motherfuckers.
Come on, they're playing
Because remember, Mo D didn't start at Mo D.
That started. So Cool Mo D, and think about beefs back then and how beefs were handled so much differently. It was beef on wax.
Wasn't nobody shooting nobody.
There was no beef in each other's face. It was just beef on wax. I saw a picture the other day of Cool Mo D and LL hanging out. I think they was up at Sirius at on LL's
Fuck around with Sway.
yeah, on LL station. So you had LL and Kumo D, you had Kane and Rakim,
Yes.
but the beef that started all beefs, and
With the bridges over.
yes, the bridge is
With
over,
the Juice Crew
and
and
Queensbridge.
KRS-One.
So yeah, so it was Karis One,
Boogie, I'm
MC
sorry,
Shan,
Boogie Down
Boogie Down Production, the Juice Crew,
Juice
which was
Crew.
really Karis One and MC Shan. But I was watching Drink Champs, and Karis One was on there, and he literally said, had MC Shan never responded to him, he wouldn't have had a career. It was only
Yeah, I heard
because
that.
MC Shan responded to him when he came out with The Bridge Is Over that he actually had a hip hop career. Other than that, because people was not. So Karis One was on some logical hip hop, and at the time, wasn't nobody really paying attention to it. So he put out a couple of tracks, and nobody was really biting. But when he came out with The Bridge Is Over, so remember back then,
It's over. But I
a lot of people may not know this, but back then, you would literally take a bunch of records and get them pressed up, and you would go to the club and you would give them to the DJ, and you would give him two, just in
Look at
case he
mix.
want to spin back and forth. You give him two, and if the DJ liked it, he would play it over and over again until people started going, that must be the hot shit, because the DJ kept playing that shit 5 times.
That makes it makes
You know what I'm
sense.
saying?
It makes sense.
We don't break records anymore. We're gonna talk about that.
Our records get broke overseas.
Our records,
Right now, they get
Our
our records get
records
broke
get
on
broke.
YouTube, Netflix, whatever. It don't. There's no method to the madness.
our records get broke now. Either somebody gets hot on YouTube
Or TikTok.
or TikTok, and you know what I'm saying, it makes some noise, or the record label that they get signed to is payola, which is illegal. It's
But it's been going on for
payola,
1,000
and they
years.
basically pay the radio stations to play. And I'm gonna tell you about some shit. Like when we talk about
So-
the '90s, I'm gonna
Well-
tell you about some shit.
But it's real. But when we listen to radio stations today outside of 95.9 or dedicated to us old cats, the radio stations that are in the habit of playing everyday music that you want to hear, that's why you can hear the same song seven
Because it's
times.
Radio One, and Radio
The
One
same time because that's what
is
they're going to
basically
push.
told, this is what you have to push. You can't play anything else. I had one of my homeboys, shout out to my man Mad Mixer. He got fired from working on the radio station. He was playing at night, so he was like, I figured, you know what I'm saying, I could just go ahead and deviate from the playlist. He deviated from the playlist. They came in there and they fired him midway through his set because he deviated from what they tell you to play. You have to play just that, and that's why you hear the same songs over and over and over. You don't hear the so even with the new rap. You know what I'm saying? Glorilla, for example, she got X amount of damn songs on her album, but you'll hear the same one song over and over and over again instead of hearing different tracks that'll force you to go out and buy her album. You're listening to one track constantly that'll say, okay, this has been beat over my head so much, I'll go ahead and buy the album, but you don't buy whole albums no more.
No, you buy tracks.
You stream. You don't even buy
You
tracks.
go on
You just
Netflix,
stream.
you stream.
You know what I'm saying? You just stream shit from Spotify or whatever.
And
you know
that's
what
why
I'm saying?
Sirius is the station that they are.
Yeah.
Because they play it all. They break new artists. They play new artists. You might be listening to whoever. You might be swaying them on or whatever show you listen to. And a lot of the shows, there's a lot of shows to listen to, but the live ones, you'll hear new stuff. They'll let it come out. They'll play it. But then, you know, you go to hip hop and be like, you good because you're not subject to the same bullshit over and over again. That's the difference between, and anybody want to know the difference between XM and regular radio, that's the difference. Unless you listen to 95 now, which caters to us and old school hit
Like-
R&B and stuff like that when we roll in, or something like 93 or Kiss or Morgan or whatever you listen to, they don't have to play into the system because their hours on the air are what it is.
And eventually, once we take the journey through hip hop, there's so many things that the new age of technology and hip hop has changed and we'll talk about that. So at least for the next 3 weeks, I hope y'all keep tuning in because y'all just like fucking with us. But you know, at least for the next 3 weeks, you'll tune in. Next week we're gonna talk about 90s and how the 90s changed the hip hop game so much to the point where it was no way of going back. But until then, until next Monday, we gonna get out of here because we got shit to do. I'm on my third fucking drink, so you know I'm loose. Tune in next week. Before you leave, hit the like, subscribe, notification bell. So as soon as we go live next week, you can go ahead and pop in. And you are welcome to speak on what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a whole chat that you can go ahead and chop it up with us and talk about shit, the things that you know. If we do something wrong, if we say something wrong and it's just not true, hold us to it. Hold our feet to the fire. But until then, tomorrow we'll be at the L spot. No, we won't.
No, we won't. We'll be at the baseball game.
We'll be at the baseball game. Jackie Robinson Day tomorrow. So
Hold
if
on,
you
hold
got
on.
him, throw that 42 on. And then Love Sex and Society on Wednesday.
I might pop through for that one.
Yeah, I might pull you.
I
on.
might slide through for that one. But remember, do your research
Yeah.
on anything and everything. I'm a big fan of find out for yourself.
If it's fact, it can be tested.
And listen, be careful, be safe, love your kids, hug your kids, because tomorrow's not promised. Love.
Be easy, folks.
I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Truth.